There aren't many people talking about Georgia Southern heading into the 2025 season, and this is coming off of an 8-5 finish in 2024. Today, we take a preview of this team and why I think they could be a team that competes for a Sun Belt championship. Clay Helton did a phenomenal job in 2024, and honestly, I really like his fit with Georgia Southern. I think a lot of people look at his time at USC and think, well, that was a disaster. And he goes to Georgia Southern, which at the time felt so random. When you looked at him coming to a group of five program, it felt like a step down, even with his struggles. But at the same time, you thought, Georgia Southern, why? And you're starting to see why. And I think that he's really happy where he's at. I think he's done a great job of getting this team to compete at a high level in the Sun Belt. At the same time, going from a team that its identity was that triple option to now more of an air raid type offense, that speaks to his ability to change that culture, to change their identity, and still win football games. Now, you still would like to see them play a little bit better defense, but when we look at this defense here in just a sec, you're going to see a defense full of returning talent and talent that could potentially take a step forward in their success. Those two things are going to have to gel together, and guys are going to have to take a step in their development. But I think that you feel like they're in a good position with that. Now, the offense is in position to have a really good year. And that's with losing some of your top talent at wide receiver. That being said, JC French is back after his first full year as a starter. He brings back Josh Dallas and Dalen Cobb. You also get potential big-time players in Marcus Sanders. I mean, Marcus Sanders averaged over 17 yards per catch. That's a big-time threat. Josh Dallas had 46 catches for 614 yards. Dalen Cobb had 52 for 599. They had a combined 10 touchdowns. So this passing attack should not take a step back. If anything, they're 53rd last year. They should take a step forward. They should be one of the better passing attacks in college football. Now, JC French can run the football as well. And when you lose Jalen White, you also turn the ball over to OJ Arnold. You have a new running back. OJ Arnold is an experienced player. He is someone that's been a big time player for them when they've needed him at times, and now he gets a chance to be RB1. So we'll see what happens when he can take over, and we'll see what he looks like as that RB1. Now, you have some depth behind him as well. Maybe that is going to be a big key, but that's a group that needs to take a step forward. They finished 101st, and that was with White running the show. So if this group finds more balance, the passing attack takes a step forward. And OJ Arnold is really exciting. I think that his numbers don't speak to the abilities he possesses to make this offense better. And the offensive line returns a bunch of good players. You have new starters that need to step up, but Pishon Wimbley and Caleb Cook are up the middle, so you feel like you're in a good position with that. You also have some good players that were depth pieces last year that are ready to step up. The passing attack, like I said, with that trio of wide receivers, Dallas and Cobb are proven. Sanders is looking to prove himself a little bit more. Limited production last year, but was pretty efficient when he got the ball. They also bring in Western Kentucky transfer River Helms at tight end. So you're in a great position to make some big time plays. And you have a quarterback that I think was a little bit uncertain last year and needed a little bit of time to get up to speed. But at the same time, he did that. You saw some really exciting flashes in his game as a dual threat, I think as a passer, more importantly. And if he can get this offense to find balance, this team is a problem. And this team has the ability to average 30 points a game, maybe 35. That'd be pushing it. But you return the right amount of talent. You return guys up front. The rushing attack is in good hands despite a main departure. So this offense isn't necessarily going to take a step back. If anything, I think they do take a step forward. Same with the defense. This is a defense that nearly allowed more points than they scored. They also allowed almost 430 yards per game. That has to change. Part of that has to do with getting to the quarterback, getting to be a disruptive unit. Now, Deshaun Davis and Davion Rhodes do return at defensive end. Those are two guys that will step up into those roles and could make an impact more than they did last year. Latrell Bullard up the middle is another guy to keep an eye on. This is a defense that finished 92nd in tackles for loss and sacks. You simply cannot let your secondary, you can't hang them out to dry. Tracy Hill, Aiden Jackson, Justin Myers are all back in the secondary. That's a good secondary coming back. You are in a good position to make big plays. Oh, and by the way, Chance Gamble's back. He had a couple of injuries last year, but this is a guy who makes plays. 48 tackles, 3 interceptions, does a little bit of everything for this defense. So you have the right amount of talent coming back. You just need to see things up front. You need to see, and this is a group that has had good talent on the defensive line. There has not been a question about the talent level, but being disruptive, you need to take a step forward. You need to find a way to win those matchups. And this is a group that has the ability to do that. We just need to see it consistently because this offense will take a step forward. I think this offense averages 30 points a game. I think they're pushing 400 yards a game. That being said, if you can't stop anybody, the stress of having to score all the time takes away from some of that excitement, takes away from that some of that natural ability to put points on the scoreboard. So this defense plays a huge role because they have to make things happen and make sure that they're not a reason they're losing football games, which at times last year, I mean, this team finished 8-5, but there were times where you didn't necessarily feel the most confident because the defense didn't have the ability to slow certain teams down. If that changes, and another thing with that, to make a change, you don't have to take drastic steps. You have to just make some small adjustments and make some small improvements. The pass defense, really just being better in both the rush and the pass, being a little bit more disruptive. Say you finish 60th, 65th in tackles for loss or sacks. That's going to make your numbers against the run and the pass a lot better. Your disruptive plays are going to make things easier for you and for your offense. If that happens, you're in a good position. And it makes the schedule a lot easier. So when you look at what we have for this schedule, the schedule has winnable games. Vegas has the over-under set at 7.5. And honestly, it's easy to see how you can get to 10 wins. I think a 10-2 season is definitely in the cards. I think they have the ability to make big plays. I think that if both sides take the steps that they need to take, you're in a great position to win 10 football games. And I think this team can compete for a conference championship. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but I do think that they have the ability to compete for a conference championship. Now, you all think that they're probably finishing somewhere between 4th and 11th. 21% of you said 1st through 3rd. 42% said 4th through 6th. So probably 4th, 5th, or 6th, which is usually where Georgia Southern has finished in the last few years. That's where they are slotted to finish probably right now. But there is confidence that 21% of you think that they can finish 1st through 3rd. I'm probably in that boat as well. I don't think 7th through 11th, though 37% of you think that's where it's going to be. But nobody thinks that they're finished 12th through 14th. So at least there's a floor. There is a floor, and it's a decent floor if you are a Georgia Southern fan. If you are a Georgia Southern fan, you're in good hands because of the talent you have coming back. Now, if the offense, like I said, can be as dynamic as we expect, and the defense takes those small steps, you're in a good position. Fresno State and USC is not a great way to start the year, but Fresno State's going through a coaching change and has a lot of turnover to recover from. USC is not going to be a winnable game. We're not even going to entertain Georgia Southern as a potential upset. That's one of those, like, if you bet it right now, you're crazy. and then you'll just look good if that somehow happens. I'm not going to be one of those people. Then you have Jacksonville State and Maine. That's a 3-1 start potentially going into a road trip to James Madison. James Madison is one of the best teams in the Sun Belt. They are going to compete for a conference championship. That's a game that is a coin flip to make your aspirations to win a conference championship possible. Also, at this point, you don't have a conference loss, even if you do lose to USC. So even if you are with one loss, you can still have everything that you want. You can achieve your goals throughout this season. Southern Miss, we'll see how good they are at this point. That's a team with a ton of roster turnover. They are a team you need to give them some time. Georgia State, who knows what they're going to be this year. Arkansas State expects to be better. The last stretch is really tough. But again, if you're a team that's worthy of a conference championship, you're going to compete in these games. App State, Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion, Marshall. Now, Marshall's probably the easiest game of those because of the turnover they had. They lost a ton of talent on the roster. The coaching staff's turned over. We'll see what they look like at that point. But those first 3 games are tough. App State is looking to be a conference contender once again. Old Dominion could surprise a lot of people. Coastal Carolina could surprise a lot of people. But again, when you look at these games, I think you look at USC, James Madison, and that's honestly it, where you look at those 2 teams and you say, those teams are definitively and undisputedly better than Georgia Southern. The other ones, you can make an argument that Georgia Southern is the better team. Now you have to play the games. That's why you play the games, and it'll be interesting to see how those games play out. However, it'll be interesting to see how this team does. Are there depth concerns? Do injuries play a role? Those are going to be things. But right now, with this optimism, this is a team that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, and it could be a team that surprises people because no one's expecting them to do what they're capable of doing.